Welcome everyone to Appy Hour. We are thankful that you've all joined us, and we're going to be talking today with Corpay. We're going to be going through all of the bill automation pieces, the workflow, all of the features, and then also we love that four-letter word free. So we're going to be talking about some of the free features that are also available here. And we're very thankful to have a special guest with us. So I will not hold us up any further. Heather, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Heather Satterlee, and I am the owner and founder of Satterlee Training Consulting and Satterlee Accounting Services. And I have my firms are in Rhode Island, but honestly, we're 100% virtual. So we have boots on the ground in Virginia and in Kentucky and in Michigan and in Colorado, and Rhode Island. So
Nice.
We are completely virtual. I have an amazing team, and we're helping small businesses with their accounting and tax needs, and also through their technology consulting needs. So we're just helping them. We're just helping them get their stuff in order and prosper, and it's a lot of fun and really satisfying.
Well, I'm super glad that you like integrations. It creates a really fun friendship.
It sure does.
So I couldn't help it. I had to look over at the chat that popped in, and so Nancy was saying that she's excited about this session, which is cool. I'm really glad that we've been hearing about Corpay, so to be able to learn more is fantastic, and the whole reason that Heather and I are here. So your news of excitement, Nancy, actually excites us too.
Yeah. So, Bob, our next slide is an intro. Oh, you didn't introduce yourself, Liz.
Oh, well, okay, I'll do quick and official. So I'm Liz Scott. Most of you know me. Thank you for being here. Our firm focuses on small businesses who specifically use QuickBooks. And so I'll leave that as my intro this time. Then we have Bob. We have you here today. So Bob Lewis from Corpay. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be with you all, and Liz and Heather, thank you for allowing me to join you. What a fun format for a session. This is really cool. And so I've been in the business a long time. I'm a non-practicing CPA from way back when, and moved into the software world, where I've spent most of my career building accountant programs and partner programs with companies like Intuit, Microsoft, Concur, Bill.com, also in the accountant channel. So I know the space well, I know the channel well, and it's just so great to be back in a role where I get to develop a fantastic new program with Corpay One. So thank you both for having us.
Oh, thank you for coming on. And I'm excited. I looked at, so Corpay, just so those of you that are not familiar with Corpay, you were formerly called Roger.ai. And yep. I actually looked at Roger.ai about 2 years ago. And oh my gosh, it has come so far. Like the functionality is kind of crazy, amazing. So I'm excited for you to show this off today, Bob, because just the things that you've added to the bill pay experience, it really does set you guys apart. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Yeah, we're working at carving out our little niche.
You sure are, definitely. So I'm excited to see you guys take off more. So.
Well, this is definitely good timing. So I'm going to go ahead and say a thank you to our sponsors. So thank you to ADP, who has been our 2021 Champagne level sponsor. And we have been working with ADP and doing some deep dives to go through how to use the different segments and pieces of the software that most of us have got access to, but maybe just didn't know how to navigate around. So we are super grateful that a lot of you joined us for that 3-part series. I definitely learned a lot during that.
I sure did too. So that was fantastic. So we love our partners at ADP.
We also want to say thank you to Corpay. So today's episode sponsor is Corpay, and we're going to be talking about accounts payable. So how do we make that whole life easier? And then go back to that 4-letter word free. It's like, what are those pieces of it that actually fit our clients in that free bracket? And then which things do we want to talk about that are, sometimes higher levels need, or more options need different subscription levels. So we're excited to learn all the bits and pieces.
Definitely.
So we will do our drink toast like we typically do about midway through. And then Heather and I've got a really cool thing that we want to share towards the end. And then we'll talk about our next episode coming up.
Fantastic.
So yeah, moving right in, thinking about the payables piece. I know, Heather, you do a lot of accounts payable for your clients. And could you even imagine trying to hand enter any of that?
No, I have to tell you a story. I was actually on the QuickBooks Online Advanced Certification webinar yesterday doing some questions and answers behind the scenes. And somebody asked, we were teaching about accounts payable, and we were teaching in the advanced cert where you're going to know about this, Liz. And if for those of you that haven't taken your advanced cert, here's a little sneak peek. We were talking about how when you enter a bill to pay a credit card, basically you're making the entry behind the scenes through a bill entry screen to reduce the credit card liability account and increase accounts payable. We're having a conversation, we're going through the explaining how that shows up on a cash basis report. Anyway, one of the attendees was like, I'm not following why anyone would ever do that. And I'm like, well, some people write checks and they want to do a check run with all of their checks to pay those bills to the credit card company. They're not going in and doing, and this attendee was like, couldn't get his head around the fact that some people still write checks. It was like, people still do that. I'm like, I know, it's crazy, right?
Unbelievable in this day and age. But yes, it exists. Most still many, probably still the most.
Yeah, and there's some industries that some would argue are check dependent, and they probably will be for a while. I'm thinking attorneys' offices, they need that documentation thread. So for them, they still want to be able to have some of it that's a paper check and a trail. But for the rest of us, I don't even think that, I would say Gen Zers are using checks at all.
I don't think I even have. I know with my business, Saturday Training Consulting, I started in January of 2017. Or that was my official launch date. I didn't have checks for like a year and a half. And then there was a situation, I can't even remember what it was, but I needed a check. And I actually was like, well, I should probably order some checks.
And so that one off.
No, and I do have them, and every once in a while, I think I had to pay Rhode Island. Like Rhode Island is so 50 behind the rest of the world. I think I had to pay them somehow, and I needed to write a check. And it was like, do I go to the bank and pay them to do a cashier's check, or do I just order checks, and then the next time I have to pay Rhode Island, I'll have checks. So I did that. But you're right, and we definitely have clients that have vendors that they deal with that are really small, that are not digital at all, and they want the checks. So having the ability to send a paper check to a vendor is still relevant 100%.
Absolutely.
But we don't currently have any clients that we're doing physical check runs for. And I think that will completely eventually go away, I think.
Well, we're seeing it go away in other places. So we would think that we would follow along with that. Some of our other country friends, they are doing a fee for handwritten checks. So if you write a handwritten check, you're actually charged per check to be able to process it, because it does take longer. So that thought process there, I think, will catch on. And that's the way that a lot of, banks in other areas have adopted.
Well, and the other thing, Liz, I think we need to talk about that is even more relevant is manually entering those transactions. So, manually entering the transactions, manually, going into QuickBooks or whatever accounting system and putting in the vendor and the category and the amount, that takes time. So, digitizing that is something that, regardless of how you pay the bill,
Mm-hmm.
having that automated through the use of rules and workflows and, AI and things like that is a huge time saver. And I think that that is absolutely a place where all accounting professionals should be focusing, is how do you train your system to get rid of that busy work so that you guys can focus on, we can focus on, the advisory and having those, conversations with our clients that really make an impact on their business.
Yeah,
So
I like to say, focus on what matters and automate the rest. And,
Exactly.
yeah. And,
great statement.
Interesting comment about checks becoming an expense again from the bank, or from processing. Because I remember, dating myself here, when online banking was brand new for individuals, and B of A and Wells and the other banks, they when it first came out, you had to pay extra to do online banking. And then eventually they decided, hey, this is cheaper, when they looked at the whole process. And so online banking became free for personal. And in some ways, AP automation is online banking for business. It completes the process so that you can have an online payment capability. And so why not us transition to that same model where, online B2B banking or bill pay is free. So that's how we challenge ourselves with this pricing model, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Well, I'm excited to hear that. And this last one, talking about the ROI, it makes me laugh. So we had a comment about fax machines, and so they're not used very often. And one option is to have a digital fax number. So that's one thing that some of our peers do. But I was trying to explain to somebody the other day this paper texture, and it was one of my new employees. And I said, well, it kind of feels like fax paper. And they were like, huh? So they didn't even know what fax paper felt like. It wasn't a reality that they could relate to.
It's like dot matrix. When you say dot matrix printers, people are like, what? What is that?
What?
What?
Yeah.
Dot what? So
it brings me back to my my early days as an accountant, working as an auditor at Coopers and Lybrand.
Yeah.
Calling the office to see if there were faxes from the client or for a specific engagement. It's crazy. Audit confirmation, all that.
I get that some of it still happens. Go ahead, Heather.
No, I mean, we use a digital fax service now, so it's part of our phone. So we use Uma, which is an app, and it does all of our phone stuff. It also does the e-fax. So it works great, and what's nice about it is you get that whole audit trail you have that with your fax machine too, but it's all digital. So
I agree. So
oh my gosh, Nancy has a dot matrix printer. And no, Keanu Reeves is not in dot matrix. That's an actual printer type. And it had paper that had like these little holes in it, and you had to like feed it into the holes to print out.
And pull off the little parts, the perforated paper on the side.
Or you put them in those binders, right, with the little pins.
Oh my gosh, yes.
You just flip through when you're reviewing the general ledger with a highlighter, and you'd sit there and 6 columns.
They'd eventually fall apart.
Your echo fasteners. Yes, with your paper adhesives up around there to make sure the pages don't rip. Oh yeah.
Oh, stop it.
We're dating ourselves really, really.
Yeah, right. Oh, it just keeps getting worse too.
All right.
We're going to automate.
Back before the earth cooled, Donna says.
Oh no.
Oh, I love it. We're having fun today.
Yeah, I like our community.
Yeah.
So the whole game is automate. So how do we do that? And what are the different pieces, especially in the AP realm? And so Heather, since you do a whole lot of AP processing, your thing is you want to be able to see that sync if you're using any type of bill pay solution too. So clarity.
Yeah. So, there's a couple of things. Like for our process in our firm is, the documents come in, they have to be validated, right? We don't write checks for our clients. We don't process payments for our clients. We schedule payments for our clients, and then they're approved, right? So for us, the first thing is these documents come in. We need to know are these legitimate bills that should be paid? Were they authorized by someone? Is there a purchase order, process in place? So automating that and coming up with a system for that in your firm is super important. And that can actually be, if you have different clients that use different systems, that becomes a real, it just becomes really inefficient for your team. So one of the things that we do as a firm is, you got to use, they all have to be on what we're using. So, but a big piece of that is, I think a lot of the time is looking at the bill, validating the bill, and then coding and entering, the categories and stuff.
Absolutely. And I don't know, but I'm loving our chat that's happening over here because, you've got mail. Like, I still remember that. You've got mail.
Okay, so that's still, like, my husband's still on AOL, so I still hear
Oh, you still hear that?
Wow.
Hold on.
You've got mail.
You've got mail. I have a son who we tease him all the time. He's 14 and he's got a Bing account. And I'm just like, he searches everything in Bing. And I'm like, wow.
Bing.
Bing of all search engines, that would not be the one that I would choose.
I think I need to download You've Got Mail as a new ringtone for me. Like,
You do too.
I love that.
There you go. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I agree.
That
Totally. We should all do it.
That would be a really fun prank, like at scaling or at a conference, to have everybody we know download that as like our text message notification.
You've got mail.
You've got mail. That's funny.
You've got mail.
Right.
You've got mail. Yeah. Speaking of You've Got Mail, oh my gosh. So this one right here is something that definitely I have faced, I'm sure that many of you have faced, is all of the different payment options, being able to stay on top of it. So, there's some of the vendors that we've worked with in the past that prefer a certain payment method. So they want it wired or ACH or various different ways that payments are submitted. Like you said earlier, Heather, that you've got these checks that have to be processed. So with the state, that's a requirement. So you've got to be able to have all these various payment methods available.
Definitely.
And this one's really important for you, Heather. So knowing that, like you just said, the bill payment approval.
Yeah.
So you had a validation that was even before this.
This is so important because honestly, and if you are an accounting professional, if you are actually scheduling the bills without your clients clicking that button to actually pay it, you are putting yourself, you're increasing the liability of your firm, because if you accidentally pay something that wasn't approved, they're going to look at you to say, you sent this money, try and get it back. And if you don't, then, so we don't do that. So, we, in our process, our clients have to approve. We don't initiate any payments for our clients. And the nice thing about, which I'm not going to give it away, but Bob's going to show you how you can really superpower that in a few minutes. But that is something that we will not do. It's just, we don't do it.
Well, I think it's a good practice. So to make sure that you've got somebody who, is not part of the outsourced team, but part of that internal team, to be able to say, hey, this is accurate. We really did receive it, or those services, whatever it was that you're paying for.
Right.
That somebody's looking at that internally.
Definitely. And also having approvals at different levels, like having the ability to create custom approvals based on the workflow of the company, of the client's company, and really where I'm going with this is, if you think about not-for-profits, they really have to be careful, right? Because they're stewards of the money in their bank account, right? They're not the owners of the company. They're the stewards of an organization. And so they have this, fiscal responsibility to make sure that the right eyes are being, that are on that money. Because I think fraud, and I don't have any, maybe you have some, Liz, I don't have any like hard statistics, but from what I've heard, fraud is rampant in not-for-profits because it's all volunteers, right?
Right.
Or a lot of volunteers. So.
Yeah, and we specifically have worked with nonprofits that have been through that. And it's sad. It's really
It is
sad to
sad.
see.
Sad.
And what they ended up going to is actually a situation just like this, that there was a lot of document capturing and
Yeah.
everybody was required to upload. So even if you just went and bought a bag of ice for the venue on the weekend, it was still a document capture and sign. So that way, if they went back to go look at that expense, they could see who it was that had either gotten the credit card handed to them or had gone and used their credit card. But document capture was actually really important.
Yeah, and you know, Julie was saying that she struggles to get our volunteer board to take control seriously. You know, what the key to this, and I know Julie, you'll agree with me, is you have to make it easy. You have to make it easy, and that's what this technology does. Is that it's easy, it's inexpensive or free, and it's not hard to do. And once you set it up, it's you know, like that. You take the few minutes to set it up, and then it's the gift that keeps on giving, right? Because it's there. So that's the thing I love about it. But you have to make it easy for them.
I agree. And I'm thinking about, you know, those situations where they're not taking it serious on the board. It's like after the fact. That's where a lot of them end up saying, okay, now we need better processes after the fact. And that's whenever, you know, one of these nonprofits had reached out to us was after money had been stolen. We're talking about big dollars because it takes a while to capture or to really be able to verify that person's doing something.
You know, the other thing that I just want to point out too is, you know, we're having these conversations as accounting professionals talking about these different situations that we have with our clients. All of this stuff, I would just say to our whole community, the conversation we're having right now is advisory. And these conversations, if we were clients, if I was your client or you were our clients and Liz and I were having this conversation with you about the internal controls, about the technology, like that's advisory. You should be getting paid for that. Like that is not something that you just do because it's fun. And I know I'm totally off topic, but I think a lot of times we're helpers, and sometimes we don't realize the value we're bringing to our clients just through conversations, just like we're having right now. Are you muted, Liz?
You're on mute. Oh, you're back.
I'm back. So I was about to say, this is like a really good place to be able to say, how about we toast to our special guest and say, this is why we are super happy that you are here and we are sharing this time together. Heather and I have got some drinks with berries in them.
Mm-hmm.
So I know,
yeah. I had a cordial drink on Happy Hour before, so this is a new one. It's dripping on me because it's
your Corpay cordial. Yes. Substitute your favorite local, you know, fresh in-season berries.
I have blueberries. Blueberries are in season right now in my part of the world.
So Bob, I've stopped sharing. If you want to share your screen.
Okay, I will share my screen and we'll go into a bit of an overview first.
So excited about this app.
Thank you. Yes, and what a great intro discussion to set the tone. So we're here to help with bill pay, and we have some great capabilities. The high level of it is, you know, it's a full AP and payment solution. So starting with document capture and scan, with approval, simple or very sophisticated approval workflows, plus reimbursements. So that would be, you know, employee expense reports. And so we can replace a number of things, and we'll explain some of that in a bit. But before we do, I'm glad you mentioned our history as Roger AI. The Corpay brand is actually a brand new brand. We created that brand March 1st. We actually acquired Roger earlier in the year, early in January, and it's part of FleetCor. So some of you may have heard of FleetCor in the past or now with clients who may use our fuel cards. We started our business in fuel cards, and we have a very large base of business there, and and now we're over 2.5 billion in revenue, 8,500 employees, and we're an S&P 500 company. So we're backed by a very large parent and who's been in the business of B2B payments for decades now. So we're a leader in many types of B2B payments. We mentioned fuel cards, corporate cards, FX, foreign currency, and others. So this is why we acquired Roger, is so that we would have a simple, modern, and complete solution for SMBs and accountants. So while we've been serving enterprises and mid-market companies for quite a long time, and many small businesses too with fuel card, we didn't really have a comprehensive bill pay solution here. So it's more challenging many times to scale down something you've created for big companies. It's sometimes easier to start fresh or to acquire, and so that's how we did it. And what's really attractive about our solution, Corpay One, it's got a simple, modern user experience. So it's friendly, inviting, and it's easy to figure out. It's priced to support clients of any size, and we have, but with all the advanced capabilities you might like from some of the more established solutions out there. So whether that's sophisticated workflows or expense reimbursements built in, those are the types of things we've gone and added to our solution. So we work with QuickBooks and several other solutions out there as well. So for those who have a multi-accounting practice, we can serve several. And just a quick, as integrating into QuickBooks is so critical to doing this right, just wanted to share some of the things that we do when we integrate. So we pull in certain things that are bidirectional, so categories and payment accounts, classes, any new vendors that are added, they can be added in either place. Whereas expenses and invoices, we pull in at the beginning to start with any unpaid invoices, but from there on out, you would initiate the process, capturing documents in Corpay and then pushing them into QuickBooks, which is a nice note. We actually do push the documents right back into the accounting systems. Yay! So you may not need an additional document capture service to get them in two places, or rely on a link and opening up another system. It's all built in. Our view is the accounting system is the system of record. And so our objective is to make it easier to use your core accounting system and simplify the process. And rather than holding your documents hostage and other challenges that come with that. So we've talked about the free word. It's a nice 4-letter word though, and our solution, we have designed it with a modern business model, right? Moving toward that free business payment process. So we have no user fees, no monthly fee, scanning's included, approvals and advanced features are all included. We do have a couple of things that we don't include for free. So we do have free ACH and checks. So it's literally cheaper than doing it manually, not including hours. I mean, your time and savings make it far more valuable, your ROI, but literally it's cheaper than buying checks and printing and mailing them. If you do have a wire transfer, we do have a fee for that, and we do charge for voids. But that's basically it today. So, so how do we make money? That's always a question, because I get that. Really? It's free? How can it be? When are you going to charge me? You're going to charge us in a year, right? No, we're not. Our business is, as I mentioned, we're a B2B payments, leader, and so we make money moving money. And so, so for example, the features today that we make a little money on when vendors prefer credit card payments, and we can direct their payments that way. There's, that little interchange fee, we get our little bit, and that adds up. And you may have clients that just don't have any vendors that do. And so we might lose money on a few clients here, a few clients there. That's okay. The big picture is that, you know, the more we move through our payment infrastructure, that's great for us. Soon we're offering, actually in pilot now, the Corpay card integrated into the system, and then other pay with card options coming soon. So on the right, go ahead. Question.
Oh, I had a question. So with the pay with card, are you talking about, like, would you set up a credit line with Corpay? So is it a like where you'd have a credit line?
So no, that would be
or are you talking about paying with
it's
or pay your own credit card?
It's literally to, if you have a vendor who won't accept a card, but you need to pay that bill, and that's your best source of short-term cash before your collections come in or something, you can pay with card, or some people just prefer points. So, so if you want to pay all invoices with a card, you'd have to, you know, you'd pay a little gross up fee of, you know, you'd pay your little 2%, 2 or 3% fee, but you could still pay it with card. So I think it's, you know, accountants, we probably don't recommend that approach as often, but some clients really do prefer it. It's been an eye-opener for me as I've explored that feature with some.
Well, it also helps with cash flow needs. So we definitely have clients that sometimes that's part of the management is using cards.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, not that it's our favorite, but we see it.
Yeah, and it works for some, and it's a great choice when you need it.
You're paying for the float, right? So you're paying for the fact that you're going to get an additional 30 days on that credit card of not having to pay it. So
yes, and so you're going to see Corpay as a brand emerge more often. So our first branded business unit is Corpay One. We have these other businesses that we have had, Comdata, Cambridge Global Payments. We're the largest FX provider in the world, and same with Comdata. We're the largest issuer card, the largest virtual card issuer. So so for companies that want to offer virtual card payments, sometimes we're behind the scenes enabling that for them. Invoice Pay is a similar AP automation solution for larger companies, mid-market, lower enterprise. So you'll see more of those come around. You may see the Corpay brand in other places, and we have different businesses. So that's the overview, and I think helpful to understand, you know, how we came, where we came from, and the financial benefits of being part of a global B2B business. Let me see if this is going to work when I'm in. It does good in Zoom. Cool. Get rid of my browser. So so this is Corpay, and this is your home screen. Your home screen is the bill pay screen. And there's a dashboard. There's other ways to navigate. I'll show you that. But this is where you land when you open up with a client account, and you see the invoices that are sitting in your inbox. They move through the process to being scheduled and then paid. On the right-hand side, you see the details. So we've got the invoice here, some of the details on the right. And you can scroll and see after you've validated the information is right. You can then see if you have additional categories and areas to categorize expenses, like department. I created a custom one here, franchise location, which was relevant for this demo. And as you see it move through the process, we have a timeline so you can see what happened, where it was initiated, anything changed, and the payment details that are the default for the vendor. So in this particular vendor, Zoom, they accept credit cards, so direct pay.
Sorry, Bob. Heather, I think there's a little bit of feedback.
It was there for a second. Now it seems to be gone for me.
It's all good.
All right. Super. Okay. So so this is so when you look at similar, you'll see those that have gone through and been approved but not paid, and then those that have been paid. You can see all when so any all invoices that have been put into the system. You can select several, and as you go, you can see a running total. You could select all, and so it's helpful. And then you could download attachments if that's something you'd like to do. Where I see this used mostly is to create an Excel export so that you can look at information and analyze it.
So it makes me want to ask, what exactly are you exporting? Are you exporting that invoice with the different details, or are you exporting this screen? Because it looked like you were on just that one bill.
If I had selected many, it would export all the details and all the accounting coding for all the invoices in that selection.
Nice.
So let's say you were to separate them and categorize some expenses as not important for 1099, and others were an expense reimbursement on the same invoice, and you want to break them out to get your totals. That might be one reason. So you see
Sorry, Bob, I have another question, a follow-up question to that. So are you saying, I just want to make sure I understand, are you saying that it's basically a push? So when I'm sending the transactions from Corpay to QuickBooks, it's a push, meaning that I have control over when that data actually flows over? Or is it a true sync where when I save something in Corpay, it automatically goes over to QuickBooks?
That is actually an option. You can select whether you want invoices to sync in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. You can choose whether you want it to sync immediately when scanned, or you can wait until they are approved.
Okay, but do I have to push it to say like sync with QuickBooks now, or no? I don't. Okay,
it's a real-time sync.
Perfect. Okay, that was my question. All right.
The API integration is using webhooks, which is a technology today which allows you to monitor for changes without being a highly burdened integration problem. So many companies started off just doing once a day or request to sync because older technologies couldn't do that efficiently. It was bogging down systems. It's gotten better. You can check for real-time stuff without frustrating everybody's servers. So it's great.
We've got a question, Bob, and I want to ask this because this is a good one. Do the attachments also sync, or does that live over in Corpay, and that's where you would check those attachments?
Attachments push and sync with QuickBooks or Xero or your accounting system. Yeah, nice. I know. It is.
One last question. Somebody wanted to know, does Corpay sync with QuickBooks Desktop or just QuickBooks Online?
That is currently being QA'd, so coming very soon. Yes. So we look forward to that too. So right now we're working with some pilot customers and making sure it's doing what it's supposed to do. Mm-hmm. Yes. So if you wanted to see more detail on your vendors, you can search in there. So let's look at the Zoom vendor. So we've got our details, their address information, their preference for direct pay. So you could choose as what the vendor preference is. You can also send a vendor an email from here, and they'll be able to input their details, their preferences. If it's not check, or sometimes now even the ACH information is on the invoice, which we will read and scan in and bring in and use that approach if that's what's preferred.
So Bob, is it okay if I interrupt for another question?
Of course.
We have lots of chatter, which is always nice to be able to say, okay, here's all of these questions. And one of our guests, Barry, is asking, what about in Canada? Do we have Corpay available yet in Canada, knowing their banking system is different than ours?
We are not available yet in Canada, unfortunately. Currently, we are available in the UK, in the US, and in Denmark. And we'll continue to expand. We have several large business units based in Canada at FleetCor. So I wouldn't expect it this calendar year. We can make payments, wire transfer payments to Canada built into the product, but we're still not available yet in Canada, sadly.
Well, good to know. I mean, they do have a different whole setup than we do. So understood.
Mm-hmm. So in your vendor account, you can see your documents, any documents that have been associated with that vendor from the history of that relationship. You can actually see all the details of that particular payment in the vendor file if that's something you want to look for. You have the same search and filter and reporting and exporting capabilities in here too. If you're to you ever select something, it pops up, and then you can download attachments if you need to go find some detail for a vendor request. If you want to lock invoices so they can't be changed. Or the process if you want to, and then back to that CSV download. So you talked a lot about our workflows, which I appreciate. Yeah, it's really a significant differentiator in our product compared to all the others I've seen. And so there's always the ability to create just that very simple workflow. So we'll show you what the workflow creation process could be. And there's a lot here, but it can be very, very simple. So the simplest method we usually see is when the amount is over a certain amount, whatever is materiality for your client. Let's say it's $100. Do this, and then go down to the simplest of have someone approve it. So that can be done very simply. Heather, I really love the reference you made to nonprofits, and this is one area where we're seeing some very early enthusiasm from firms, in particular because of board approval processes and other issues like tracking expenses back to grants and those restricted and unrestricted grants. And so you can select approval. You can say any, all, at least. So you get at least 2 of a long list. You can put those approvals in order of preference. Let's say you want to have an internal, staff approver and then client approver. If you want to get everything right and then send it to them as the last step, which would fit your view on the best practice. We have firms that also approve it have the client approve it, and then they initiate payment for clients. So it works both ways. But going back to some of these workflows I've created previously that also can be quite helpful. So there's one here, new vendor. I'll open it up so you can see what it looks like. So this one, if a bill or a receipt comes in and the category is empty, add a note. Add category, request W-9. Do not pay until W-9 received. So that could be something you make a note just so your team knows or your client knows, hey, we need to get this W-9 so we can pay this one. So as one example. So, and you can do many other things like that to create additional efficiencies. So another I found that's pretty interesting is, so if you have recurring paid subscriptions, you want to get the documents into QuickBooks, but you don't want to have to deal with it. It's already paid. You just want to scan it, attach it. So this would look for the recurring invoices from 24 Hour Fitness and QBO. And if the price change is less than 10%, require approval from nobody and just mark as paid. So pulls it into QuickBooks, you're all set, done. No fuss, no muss. Or similarly, you have unpaid recurring bills that are essentially the same. So your internet, your rent come in the same. If price change is less than, you can customize this 1%, 10%, 20%. Require approval from nobody. It would just automatically flow through. Maybe then you would just skip the staff approval and move it straight to the client for approval with this process. So there's a great deal of flexibility and power in this. So you can create simple and basic approvals in a minute, or you can get in and really understand a client who has a really specialized request. So for example, here we have one where we want to segment invoices by franchise location. So if bill amount is greater than $100 and franchise location is Kansas City, it's got to be approved by Lindsay Vaughn here out of Bob's Ski Chalet, right? We've got our ski chalet in Kansas City and our ski chalet in Knoxville. It's sort of a remote skiing kind of business. And similarly, we could send those separately. So in addition to having a simple and standardized base approval workflow, you can also carve off bits that go to a specialized process.
Well, so it makes me wonder, the specialized process, you've got that note in there with the new vendor to request a W-9. So is this a template that you can use for requesting W-9s for new vendors? Is that what this I'm looking at?
So we're not quite there yet. So this would be just to know that you need to get one, so you track it somewhere else. But that's a common request. It's something I've got on our roadmap. I don't have a date for when it'll come, but that's something on my wish list to manage W-9s in here. But that's not available today. Just to be clear, we are not managing W-9s yet. This is more, look out, prepare.
Do I hear a solution, Heather?
I do hear us that you do. I'm like dying to say it. I'm dying to say it. So I'm over here at Zapier.com looking at, Corpay integrates with Zapier. And so one of these is label updated. So triggers when a label is updated on expense. So my question is if that's a trigger and in Zapier, then couldn't I just send an email to say, hey, send me a W-9?
You definitely can. You absolutely could do that. Exactly that.
Yeah.
And we do. We're integrated with Zapier. Yep.
So that's pretty cool.
So you can achieve more with other solutions built together. Yes.
I love it. My Zapier brain is like now going a mile a minute. So I just put the link in chat, everybody, for all my Zapier friends to go see what you can do with Corpay.
So so interesting. Like we were founded as Roger AI, and I think the AI in this case is not artificial. It's accountant intelligence. It really is. You can bring your knowledge and your thoughts and your process, and you can automate much more work with this powerful workflow capability, which, as you get in and play with it, it's amazing how quickly you get a knack for it and go. So, yeah, cool. So some other things in here that you may not have seen before. You can import statements, which will help you reconcile receipts and invoices back to, say, a bank statement, if you wanted to do that here. Reimbursement. So I mentioned we have the expense report capability. So if you have an interest, you have clients that have need for expense reports, we have that built in. And so that's also so Corpay one also I didn't share before. We have same mobile app as well as a cloud app. We started actually mobile first. So that was before we built a cloud solution. We had a mobile app first. And then just one other thing here to see. So lists. So this is where we import lists from QuickBooks, or the accounting system of record it's integrated with. You can also create custom lists here. That's what I did with the franchise location. So you create custom lists, and then you go back to. So let's say we had a new location. We'll just choose Bellevue, Washington, where I live, and so now in our bill pay, when we see our franchise location option, we've just quickly added that option. It's very, very easy to do that. And then another setting you have, I'm going a little deep here, but this is the place for that. With workflows, whoop, let's see, let's go back.
So while you're pulling that up, I'm thinking we're getting towards the end of the hour. And so I wonder, Heather, is this a good time to launch our poll? Thank you. So that way everybody can have a chance to respond to that poll. You've shared a whole bunch of features with us today, and we've had a lot of great feedback and, wanting to know, even can we share some of our deck today? So yes, our slide deck will be available later on this week for download. And that way they can also have access to some of these steps that you've gone through to help people know how best to use Corpay.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a few more things to point out in the dashboard. If you're curious, we have you have the ability to, well, of course, to see all your clients and see which ones have been set up and what steps are remaining. If you have those, you can see activities. So which clients have invoices that need attention, and then you can create your workflows at the dashboard level. So you can create them here and you can apply them to the clients where it fits. So if you get some processes like, say, new vendor steps, that would be a great one to create here at the dashboard level and apply to specific clients one at a time, or selecting an access group. So let's say you have an access group for your nonprofits, or all new clients go to the new client person who's going to give them that TLC they need in the beginning. And or maybe you're all of those people, and that's great too. You wouldn't need access groups, but that's here. You can add your staff at the dashboard level and add them to as many clients as you can import a list. So it's easy to get started, both as a client to set up a client, as well as to set the firm up and get going. So then one last thing I didn't share that I like to point out is when you're navigating, you can switch accounts from here, but there's also the ability to go into a demo mode. So if you want to have an instance where you've got a lot of documents and data and you want to move things around and approve them, but you don't want to actually move any money, you can go into demo mode, and then you'll get an account view with lots of info in there, and you can show clients how it works, or someone, other staff training, that type of thing. So
Nice.
Yeah.
So I want to tell you, this has been very informative. I appreciate you coming on and sharing with us how to use Corpay, how the features work, and some really good stuff. And I also want to share this. So do you want to talk about this special treat? Because this is a big wow.
Yeah. So we're as a gift back to our new accounting firm partners, we have a promotion where any client that you start in July or August and initiate payments, will provide you with a $100 Amazon gift card. You can have that for yourself, your team, pass it on to your clients. Set up the welcome back to the office party, and up to 5 clients.
The thing that's awesome about this is, there's another wow. So we're talking about utilizing Corpay anyway. So this is just a nice little bonus. And I think it's a great thing to point out that yes, it can be directly used for the firm and directly used for, even conferences that are coming up. So lots of different ways that we can.
I
Lots of
love
ways
You
we
can
can
get
use
started
funds.
with your own firm today and get an Amazon gift card to buy some cocktails on the airplane.
Ooh, so wait, you're even saying our firms count?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, cool.
You get one right away. So I have a question. I don't think that you demoed this, but so maybe you can just speak to it. Don's asking, how are documents uploaded to Corpay? I'm assuming that there's somewhere where you go through and you click add attachment. Is there also an email address that you can forward documents to within Corpay?
Yes, I skipped it, but you can add multiple ways. So yeah, there's an email for invoices to get found right into the, to move right into the inbox. You can drag and drop. You can, bring it from an email attachment, or you can create manually and just attach the document if that's what you prefer. If you don't want to rely on the scanning process, which is quick and extremely accurate, better than 99% accuracy. And so it's a fantastic scanning solution.
So Nancy wants to know, how does she get her gift card? She signed up, so she have to just pay a bill and then she gets the gift card?
Yes, you sign up and you pay a bill. That's right.
Nothing
That's
like
what you do. Go, Nancy.
Amazon gift cards.
Nancy's part of the Get Shit Done team.
I love it.
It is totally happening.
Right.
Yeah,
well,
pardon me.
Fantastic.
That's right. So, and Nancy is saying it was also easy. So that's a big one that we like to hear.
Thank you.
I'm going to talk about another special treat that Heather and I both received, and we're so happy with this special treat and the way that the company presents these gifts to the recipients that we wanted to share this with you as our coolest app. Yeah. So it is called Sugar Wish, and Sugar Wish is they provide sweets by mail. So you can go on there and you can say, I want to order a gift for somebody, and you can send it. Or what we received was a gift card. And so we were able to go and pick our own special treat, which was super cool. So if we look at some of the options right here, Heather and I both received these ADP. They were essentially gifts from ADP for Sugar Wish selections. And so you could go through and you could say, what kind of thing do you want? And they had 4 different options that were selected. And so as the recipient, it was fun to shop. I felt like I had, like, with the choices here, and I got to ask you, because I didn't ask you this, Heather, which one did you choose?
So I ended up with, I think I got wasabi peas. I got the dried fruit. So I got the snacks. I went with the snacks. Okay.
That's funny. You went for a healthier option. I went straight to the candy.
Yeah, I totally was. Yeah. I'm not a big candy person.
I shouldn't be, but I totally am. And then I told my kids about this, and they were like, why didn't you get the popcorn? And I was like, oh my gosh. But even my kids got excited about it. And then not only did we get this fun selection, but then we got a message that then said, in our browser, and then also via email, we got these fun messages that came along with it.
And a nice card in there too when we actually received the snacks.
There was. Yeah. And then there was even a spot to thank the person who had gifted you this Sugar Wish, which, of course, where my mind was going is, this is a nice gift for our clients.
Definitely.
Very engaged. And so going through and actually picking your gift was, at the time, I was thinking about that, that gift and how thoughtful it was. And so it was something that, while I was actively going through, I was thinking about. So we want to say thank you to everyone who has joined us today. And you can find out more about us by visiting our website and by also going over to the Happy Hour Lounge and visiting us on the Facebook account. We also, little feedback. So I also thanks. The other thing here is we're going to have Divi that's going to come on, and they're going to talk to us about some options too. And then we're going to have a Dext deep dive, and Quivinci is going to come back on. They haven't been on with us since 2019, so this will be really fun.
I think they were like our third sponsor, so I'm really excited to have them back on the show. And they're actually going to be on a couple of times this year, so that's going to be exciting. And the other thing about the Divi episode is, if you guys know, anybody know Dan Luthi, he's going to be on as our open mic guest. So that's going to be really fun. It's a great guy.
There's lots to be excited about. And then Recur 360 will be on in October. And that one's a really great one, especially for subscriptions. So we want to say thank you to our Champagne level sponsor, ADP, and we want to say thank you to today's sponsor, Corpay.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Heather. Thanks, everybody. And thank you, Nancy. It's exciting.
Yeah, no, we had a really overwhelming response of interest. So I'll be sending you along the contact information for everybody that filled out the poll. So,
awesome. Well,
yeah,
thank you. That's great news. How nice to hear. Yeah. We look forward to talking with you all.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Awesome session. Great episode. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you, Bob. This is fantastic, and I'm excited.
Me too. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.